Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, August 5th, 2016, the WNW 249. And my top story, the panic going on in the Democrat Party. You thought I was going to say Republican Party. Oh, no. Let me lay this out for you. This whole weekly news wrap up is going to lay out why the Democrat Party is panicking, along with the legacy media, the crooked, lying weasels of the mainstream media, the legacy media. Let me just point this out to you. Even Bill O'Reilly on the O'Reilly Factor, he's a pretty fair guy. I don't agree with everything, but he's pretty fair. I don't know if he's watching USA Watchdog.com or not, but he came out and said, the USA Today, just out of the blue, they're not. They're totally in the tank. He's talking about the mainstream media in general. The USA Today, they one negative story after another. And of course, never anything about Donald Trump. And here is Hillary Clinton on the front page. This is 8/1/16, USA Today. And here is her, I have work to do to win the voters' trust, Clinton says. I have work to do to win. She can't win voters' trust after what's been going on, especially with the Bernie Sanders catastrophe for the Democrats. She can't win their trust in less than 100 days. That ain't going to happen. But yet she's positively portrayed in the press. She has worked to get voters' trust. Another thing that the USA Today put out was this article about how, top people in the DNC have been fired over the email dump, WikiLeaks, which basically exposed the fraud of the Democratic Party rigging the election for Hillary Clinton against Bernie Sanders and therefore committing fraud on about half their voters, the Bernie Sanders voters. I think he would have won if it had been fair and square. But I think about half their voters they committed fraud on. She has work to do to win them. No, that ain't going to happen. That's a huge event, folks, and I want you to keep that in mind. And they're not talking about it. Just because they're not talking about it doesn't mean people aren't angry. The Bernie Sanders voters are angry. I'll just give you a little anecdotal story. So here I am working on my computer. I call up Dell. I have a Dell computer, and I have to get some stuff done. No big deal. The tech person has to, restart the computer, reboot it, so you get a little time to kill. I said, well, how do you like the conventions as we're waiting for a reboot? And the person says, okay, my guy was Bernie Sanders. I said, oh, well, how'd you like the treatment that Bernie Sanders got from the DNC? He says, yeah, I'm pissed. How old are you? He says, 24. I said, oh, who are you voting for now? He says, well, I can tell you who I'm not voting for. Who's that? Hillary Clinton. I'm not voting for her. I won't vote for her. Now, I know that's just one person that I just found, just by happenstance, but this is in Austin, Texas, pretty liberal area, and this is a 24-year-old. How do you get back a generation of voters, and Bernie Sanders voters were mostly young, how do you get that back after you punked them? And you defrauded them. You committed fraud on them. This went on for a year, and he was never going to win. People went out and stood in the rain, the snow. They donated money, and you defrauded them. As I've said, they said the Democrats be lucky, and I said 25% a week ago or so. They'll be lucky to get 10%, I think. They're going to stay at home, vote for Trump, vote for Jill Stein, vote for Gary Stotson, but by and large, most of these votes, this is a big chunk of people, folks. This isn't like, what happened with the Republicans and Ross Perot, we took 19% of the vote. I mean, these are people who got defrauded. This isn't just a fair and square fight where you get some of the... No. The Democrat Party is in full panic mode. And I tell you when that really hit me. It really hit me when President Obama this past week was overseas. He started criticizing Donald Trump. When Obama started criticizing Donald Trump, I mean... He's calling him unfit for office and questioning his ability to be president. Unbelievable. He got no sourcing for that, incidentally. And the reason why is they don't really have anything on him. And their candidate is incredibly weak. That was an outrageous, thing. And then other stories have come out with against Donald Trump. It's just basically character assassination. Here we have, the cartoons. Remember when he said, the Russians could find her emails? And that was a joke. I mean, but maybe they have her emails. You know that she damaged national security with this email scam. You know she lied and lied and lied over and over again. And the FBI said she lied. And then she goes on with Chris Wallace and lies about lying. Oh, no, the FBI didn't say I lied. Yes, they did. lies about lying. And then comes out, the cartoons with the Trump, and then, T-shirts right away with Trump and Putin, and then here we have, Trump frequently sides with Putin on key issues. Well, that story's kind of gone way by the wayside. Why? Well, let's see. Her campaign chairman, John Podesta, bagged $35 million from the Russians in this reset. Hillary Clinton's, the Clinton Foundation, which Hillary Clinton is part of, she bagged, $145 million from multiple donors, and then Shazam. We had a big chunk of our uranium mining end up in Russian hands. This is all in the Peter Schweizer book, Clinton Cash. It's also in a movie hitting the internet. And on top of that, you have the IRS. And I know there's nothing's going to probably come of it in this administration, but add it to the list. The IRS is doing an investigation on the Clinton Foundation. I had Charles Fortel here called the Foundation one of the biggest charity frauds, or the biggest charity fraud in history. Pegs it at maybe $100 billion of global fraud. You have James Kallstrom, a former assistant director of the FBI, who was on the air live, called it a huge, huge criminal conspiracy. Yes, that was his quote. Huge, huge criminal conspiracy. And yet, the mainstream press willfully ignorant of any of this. Lying, jeopardizing national security, the fraud of the global fraud of the Clinton Foundation, they did nothing on that. And, the turnout for Donald Trump, back to that. Here's why. Another reason why the Democrat Party is in full panic mode. Donald Trump was down in Florida, right, with a terrible week he had with this, Khizr Khan and you attacked the Gold Star family. Listen, his son was a hero, no doubt about it, but so was Patti Smith's son. And her son died in Benghazi, along with 3 other Americans that died in an awful, unnecessary, incompetent by the State Department and Hillary Clinton running an attack. And nothing was done on that. So the lopsided coverage was absolutely off the charts. And that's because they're trying to do character assassination, and the mainstream press is going full in to the character assassination. Now, I know that Hillary Clinton got a big bounce after the Democratic convention, but I don't believe any of these people. And here we have a big-time Democrat, Pat Caddell, on cooked Reuters poll. Never in my life have I seen a news organization do something so dishonest. They basically cooked the poll to give Hillary Clinton a bounce. And a poll like this ends up in the Real Clear Politic polls, and what are all the other pollsters doing at the mainstream legacy media? Lying weasels that they are. And don't take my word for it that these people are turned into political hacks. Don't take my word for it. Even though I've pointed out week after week and example after example of the biased reporting. And let me tell you, and I said this before, I want to tell you again, this is my perspective as an investigative correspondent at CNN and at ABC. Man, I had to jump through hoops. I had to say something bad about somebody. Oh, man. I had the lawyers involved. I had ethics standards involved. I had the journalism review involved. Man, I had to be careful. Not anymore. Not anymore. You can assassinate somebody's character, no problem. Just make up anything you want. He's going to drop out of the race. Donald Trump's insane. There's one academic, weasel, calling for a mental examination, a psychiatric examination. Outrageous character assassination. Outrageous. This is a guy that has built over a $10 billion fortune, has tens of thousands of people working for him. He's created tens of thousands of jobs. He's uberly successful, and I know nobody's perfect. But calling into question that he's insane, mentally unstable, and Donald and the president's doing this also. This from saying that he's unfit for office. This from the president, who before being a senator for 2 years, he was a community organizer and supposedly a constitutional scholar. But yet a guy that creates tens of thousands of jobs and builds up a $10 billion fortune, well, he's not qualified. Let me tell you why he's not qualified. He's not part of the criminal cabal. But back to the press. So we're talking about that the press has turned into a bunch of political hacks. They're no longer journalists. Here is an op-ed piece, LA Times this week. This is an op-ed piece, LA Times. Look it up for yourself. At 8/2/16, to fight Trump, journalists have dispensed with objectivity. If they have dispensed with fairness and objectivity, they are no longer journalists. They are political hacks. This is common knowledge. in the journalism sphere. That's why the LA Times let this fly, because they, well, you know, it's common knowledge. The reporters at the legacy media, the reporters committing character assassination with no sourcing, being unfair, unobjective, only doing negative stories on Trump, only doing positive stories on Hillary Clinton. I am so shocked that the LA Times even let this op-ed fly. To fight Trump, journalists have dispensed with objectivity. Not my imagination, folks. Not my imagination. And I told you about Trump, being at his latest venue, 15,000 people at his latest venue, right? 15,000 people. And I know that's a good number because I went to the Trump rally here as a member of the press, and everybody had to send in an email, give your address, send it back, click yes, yes, and then you got your credentials and you got your ticket. So they know how many people are coming. They have a good idea. Because they see how many people apply for credentials or tickets. I had credentials for the press. And let me tell you, the first thing that Donald Trump came out and did, or first or second thing, everybody was there. NBC, ABC, the national people, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, local, regional, everybody was there. Trump comes out about the second or thing, and then there's the mainstream press up there. They're awful people. Most of them are awful, dishonest, awful people. Not a single person reported that. Not a single person. Not a single story that I saw reported that. If I was a reporter there, if I was working for CNN or ABC or anybody else, Donald Trump opened his convention with, the press is awful. Well, why don't they do that? Why don't they put Donald Trump saying they're awful? Maybe it's true, huh? It is true. It is true. It's common knowledge. They're biased. They're political hacks. Here's another thing talking about Trump filling up 15,000. Here is jobs, economy, top Keynes talking list. This is the wacky liberal newspaper, in my opinion. The News and Record, and it's always negative for Republicans, and always positive for Democrats. Here we have, Keynes, economy, job talking. Look at this picture. Take a good look at this picture. Why would they shoot a very unflattering shot of his behind, looking up, and look at the crowd? Do you see the crowd's not all the way to the back? This is a church. The caption says 500 people. No. I don't believe that for a minute. The press lies. They just lie. Here's a way, if they should have taken this shot, would have been much more, if a lot of people would have turned out to see him, they should have got on a chair and stood up and shot down and showed the whole room how packed it was. But no, they shot it this way. Why did they shoot it this way? Because the whole room ain't packed. And don't think the Democrats don't know this. You say, well, it's the vice presidential candidate. Same things happened with Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump, within a couple of weeks of each other, came here a month or so ago, and he packed in 10,000 at the Greensboro Coliseum, and they reported she had 2,000. And I am suspect that she didn't even have 2,000. And of course, when you add that to the idea that they basically they committed fraud on about half their voters, the Bernie Sanders voters, don't you think they have internal polls that show they're in trouble? I forget about these phony polls that all these companies are doing, which I think, they're all in the tank for, the DNC and the Clintons. Forget about all that. And it's not just the Democrats that are in the tank for the Clintons. It's the oligarchs, as I've said, the criminal crony class, which can be Democrat and Republican. Here we have a story about the Koch brothers, the Kochs. The Kochs won't directly support Trump. That means they're supporting Hillary. And you've seen story after story about the what I call the criminal cronies, the old guard, the establishment. That they're going to vote for Trump. Well, that's the criminal crony class. This is, we're conservative. The Kochs, we're conservative. No, you're not. You're criminal crony class, in my humble opinion. You're New World Order, criminal crony class, whatever you think, whatever trips your trigger. That's what I think. And it's Democrats and Republicans, the old guard. These are the people that want the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is the secret trade deal. It's such a good deal, you can't know about it for 4 years or 5 years. You can't know about it. It's a secret trade deal. This is what Paul Ryan wants. The Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's good for America. No, it is not. USA Today had a report. I don't even know how they could do this, because it's secret, it's classified. According to Paul Ryan, he stood on the House floor and said, well, it's classified. You won't be able to find out what it is 4 to 5 years from now. Paul Ryan said this, the Speaker of the House. And I don't know how they can actually know what it is, but USA Today said, well, the jobs that we create about a wash, 600,000 created and 600,000 lost. What do you bet the 600,000 lost pay a lot higher than the 600,000 created? You have Obama over in Vietnam talking about how, oh, this is going to be a good deal for you guys. It's going to create jobs in Vietnam. Too bad he's not creating jobs here in America. And he's for this, along with the other criminal cronies, Kane, Mitch McConnell. This is the class. This is the class that's against America, the rank and file, we the people. That's why the whole criminal crony class, oligarchs, New World Order, freaking out. They're freaking out. And listen, folks, I think there's going to be trouble. Period. The end. That's what all the signs show, financially trouble. Who do you want in the White House if we have trouble? We have to have somebody who's not going to destroy the Constitution and try to protect our rights. Hillary Clinton, who just said with on Fox News with Chris Wallace that, there are limits on the Second Amendment and First Amendment. There are limits. Or Donald Trump, who says, I'm going to protect the Second Amendment. I'm going to put constitutional judges on the Supreme Court. They can't win on foreign policy. Hillary Clinton can't win on Libya. I mean, we're bombing them again. Can't win on the disaster in Syria with 300,000 people dead and millions dispensed and this whole refugee crisis all over destroying Europe and coming over here. She can't run on that. She can't run on the Russian reset. I mean, after all, she got a $145 million donation to her Clinton Foundation, and then a big chunk, among many other things, a big chunk of our uranium production ends up in Russian hands. Can't run on that. And can't run on the economy, even though the stilted and biased legacy media is in the tank for him. Here's something from July 30th. Economy expected to pick up. I read that now. This is an AP story. Economy is expected to pick up. Well, let's see how it picked up, shall we? I just printed this out so I can run down. GDP came in at 120. This is all recent numbers, all recent things that came in, stats. GDP 1.2%, expected 2.6%. They missed it by 100%. Durable goods down, manufacturing down, business spending down, trade deficit widens, service sector shrinks, unemployment claims up, layoffs in July are up. How's that for the economy getting better? They can't win on the economy. They can't win there. This is why the Democrat Party is in full panic mode. My friend Gregory Mannarino says that the markets should be off by thousands of points. This is overwhelmingly bad news for the markets. I mean, it's all bad. There's not like, well, bright spot is no. Oh, in the big picture, it's all bad news. He says we have markets at all-time highs. This is Greg Mannarino, friend of mine. He's the founder of TradersChoice.net. He says central banks are buying stocks. They have to be. And why wouldn't they be? They're already over in Europe buying bonds. They're buying sovereign bonds. They're buying corporate bonds. Central banks are buying stocks to float this market. That's the only way they could be doing it. Woo, gee, what could go wrong? As Mannarino has aptly said, that the poison made what do you call it? The interventions may turn to poison. The sugar may turn sour. And that may be what is happening. And John Williams is going to be my early Sunday release coming up. And he says that, listen, I know why Trump is doing well. I mean, we've been in a recession. My numbers say we're going to look back on this, and my numbers say they're going to say we've been in recession since the first quarter of 2015. And I said, wait, no, you meant the first quarter of 2016. He said, no. Actually, it probably started in the last quarter of 2014, but since the 2015, the economy's been tanking. That's why Trump's doing well. Unbelievable. And he thinks that they won't be able to print tons of money and do a bunch of QE before the election because the dollar would tank. That would be the trigger event for what he's been predicting for a while, hyperinflation. Been hard to time with all the interventions and all the manipulations. But and look no further than Great Britain. What did they do? Cut interest rates. What happened to the pound sterling? Boom, tanked. That's what would happen to the dollar on a global scale. Gas prices would shoot up, food prices would shoot up. Can't have that before an election. But then again, if you take a look at the banking sector over in Europe, Deutsche Bank is now below $13 a share again. Credit Suisse, the chart looks just like, the Deutsche Bank. Those two charts look just like Lehman Brothers before it imploded and caused the, many say caused the meltdown of 2008. They might be forced to do something early, but John Williams, the founder of ShadowStats.com, will be the early Sunday release. And so if you take a look at the geopolitical, they can't run on the economy. It's even though the president came out at the Democratic National Convention and talked about how wonderful the economy. Oh, we don't have to make America great again. It's already great. They can't run on that. They can't run. Hillary Clinton can't run on her foreign policy experience. It's one disaster after another. And if you look at the Clinton Foundation, which the mainstream political hack DNC press is willfully ignoring. I mean, you have James Kallstrom, I'll say it again, former FBI assistant director, saying it's a huge, huge criminal conspiracy. And the Peter Schweizer movie backs all that up. They're not suing him. Why aren't they dragging him into court and suing him? Maybe it's true. It's really quite unbelievable. And then you have the president out there, and more on what Hillary can't run on because she's running on a third term of President Obama. And here we have, this is one of my favorite non-deal deals, and it's coming here. Top Republicans accuse Obama of Iran payoff. Yes, paying for hostages. Now, Obama said in a press conference at the Pentagon this week, we don't pay for hostages. But oddly, we gave a $400 million unmarked plane load of cash, which is euros and Swiss francs and dollars, and we flew it to Iran, and then consequently we got our 4 hostages back. But, the Obama administration and the president himself says, that's just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. I believe the Justice Department warned them about not doing it. They did it. The State Department overruled and did it anyway. A plane load of an unmarked plane of cash going to Iran, and they've already said, John Kerry has admitted that they were going to use some of this money for terrorism. Let's see, you gave them $400 million in cash. Boy, that wouldn't be very hard to bag up and box up and mail it to some of their terror cells, around the world, in Europe, in the U.S., and anywhere else. They could just, you just gave them the cash. They didn't have to go to the banks and get all the cash. They just got it themselves. The U.S. gave it to them. That could never happen, could it? That they would just mail blocks of, wads of money to terror cells to do stabbings and run people over with trucks and shoot gay people in gay bars? They wouldn't do that, would they? It's you can't run on that. You can't run on that. Absolutely not. But then the president, when you have all these, and this is why the president can do what he wants, because the president, bunch of, the press, the Washington press corps, a bunch of doofuses. I mean, these people are stupid. The president says that the Iran deal was signed. They don't like to even think that this deal is working, even though there are reports that Iran has been cheating on this deal. But I don't even know if they're even cheating because nothing was signed. The president said in the press conference, that after this was signed, that's what he said, and that this is actually working, even though there are new reports, good reports out from reliable sources saying Iran is cheating on the deal. And it's not been signed. The president, and nobody said, hey, excuse me, Mr. President, there's really no signed deal, correct? Yes, and this is the Blaze, and there many people carried this story. Many organizations carried this. State Department says Iran nuke deal never signed. This is the Kerry State Department. Success will depend not on whether it's legally binding, meaning it's not legally binding. This is the State Department answering a query from Congressman Mike Pompeo, and this is what they wrote him back. State Department says Iran deal, breathe it in here, never signed. And the president even said, well, we're going to give them $150 billion. Yeah, you're going to give somebody $150 billion and there's no signed deal? And there's nothing, the whole thing is intransparent? Where are the inspections? Well, I looked up that too. And, the nuclear sites, supposedly Iran was going to inspect their own sites. Yeah, that's going to be a great inspection. And here is this is from CNN at 8:15. This is about a year ago. IAEA Director General Amano put out a statement Thursday saying that it says the deals, but its details of the agreement are confidential, and that he can't make them public due to a legal obligation. Wait a minute. Wouldn't you have to have a signed deal? Nuke deal never signed. Wouldn't you have to have a signed deal to to have a legal obligation? Wouldn't you have to have a signed deal for a legal obligation? No inspection reports, no transparency, no signatures. They get $150 billion. 400 million of that, just a coincidence. It's been in the making for a long time. And we didn't pay for hostages. The president says we don't pay for hostages. We don't pay ransom. It just looks like that, but it's a coincidence. Yeah, can't run on that. Hillary Clinton can't. She was at the State Department when they were starting this negotiation of the P+5+1. All the world powers trying to curtail the Iran military application of nuclear power, nuclear deal. This is France and Germany and the U.S. and Great Britain, Russia, China, and Iran, and she was a part of that beginning negotiation. Can't run on that, can she? And this is supposed to be a total success, even though there are valid reports saying Iran is cheating on the deal, and there's no signatures on the deal, and we don't get to see anything because it's a legal obligation. It's confidential. There's no deal, folks. The no deal. No deal. And how much of that was a payoff to different people around the world, who knows, but it's a no deal. Another thing I wanted to bring out really quick is what's going on in the South China Sea, and I'm shocked that people aren't reporting this. This is an RT, Russia Today story, and I know Russia and China are cozy and they're military allies, but folks, this is freaking me out. I mean, this is what China just said to its citizens: prepare for possible war on water, South China Sea tensions. Beijing, over South China Sea tensions, Beijing tells its citizens, prepare for possible war on water over South China Sea tensions. Beijing tells its citizens the tensions are getting so great, they're warning their citizens about tensions. There's all kinds of other stories you can find about drills and missile tests and all kinds of other things. It's a 600-mile area in the South China Sea. It's a key shipping route. I mean, trillions of dollars in goods are shipped through that. They built military bases, as a fact. that China has built military bases. They went to The Hague, and some of the countries sued. I think the Philippines sued and won, and said that China couldn't take their section of the South China Sea. China says, we don't care. We're not even going to recognize the decision at The Hague. So now what? I'm just telling you, that is way underreported. Why are they not reporting that? Don't they care? Don't they take this seriously? Are they afraid they'll crash an already terrible economy? I have no idea, but that's the deal with that. One other thing I wanted to say, and I don't know why the president doesn't say this, we've had all these awful shootings, okay? And they just had another one, another one of these awful police shootings. And you know what's common in all of them? That the people being shot didn't listen to lawful commands. I mean, you have a gun. The cops tell you to put it down. You don't do it. They shoot you, and I can't believe it. Or they tell you to stand back. They tell you not to charge the cops, like Michael Brown did, try to wrestle a gun away, and then they end up shooting somebody, and it's the cops' fault because people don't listen to lawful commands. And this is the idea that this Black Lives Matter, and this is the idea. They had a whole night dedicated to Black Lives Matter at the Democratic National Convention. And nobody ever says, hey, listen, folks, you have to listen to lawful commands. If you don't want to be shot, then don't raise the threat level to police. Because, they don't have to, have their tails kicked, and they don't have to have their weapon taken away just because you don't have one and you're going to try to take away a weapon or not listen to lawful commands. Listen, I don't want to have a police state, but you can't villainize the cops. One other thing I wanted to bring up is this California bill, and this, a lot of folks in the Christian world says that, the whole LGBT thing is going to be used to destroy Christianity, and here we have California bill would prevent LGBT bias at religious schools. Folks, this is an attack on freedom of religion. I mean, I understand that gay folks, transgender folks shouldn't be discriminated against, but either should Christians. And what this article says, this is a bill that says that you can't discriminate. And if you do anything discriminatory, like believe that it's wrong for men to lay down with men and women to lay down with women, as it says in the Bible, and if you believe in stories like the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah, where God, destroys those two cities because of the iniquities and the gay sex going on, that for some reason you're evil and that you shouldn't get funding. And one of the people in the religious school says, well, they're going to hold a gun to our head and withhold funding from us, and which is an attack on freedom of religion. Now listen, to stories I told you, I didn't write these stories. These are stories in the Bible. I didn't write the Bible, I'm just telling you what's in it. But this is an attack on religious freedom. And it's not one or the other. I think there ought to be some type of deal where both sides are taken care of, not one at the expense of the other. But that's the beginning. This is the new bill in California that they are using, and many people say it's an attack on Christianity. That's the way I see it. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and your donations. That helps us out. And remember, fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all spiritually. Fear not. God the Father is in charge.